All right, everyone, welcome back into another fantasy football video. Going to be breaking down the 5 worst mistakes I am seeing people make in their best ball drafts right now. So the most common mistake that I'm seeing people make right now is just overdrafting rookies. The NFL draft just occurred. People are excited about where these rookies ended up. They are very much blindsided by recency bias, by excitement bias, if you will, as well. So like the first easy ADP player I am avoiding is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay, he's just being drafted way too high. If you look on best ball drafts, he's currently going as a top 10 receiver. People are drafting him at his ceiling, and I would argue that's still a little bit too high. Like a lot of things would have to go right for Marvin Harrison Jr. to outproduce that current ADP. And if we look at a site like Fantasy Pros as well, he's currently going as receiver number 11 there as well. So definitely seems to be being overdrafted pretty much just based off of excitement. Now, some of you guys are probably thinking, he's not being overdrafted. What are you talking about? Well, let's just go ahead and compare him against other receivers that are right around him. Okay, one, you got Drake London, who I would argue is also being a little bit overdrafted, but not too egregious. But like, let's look at Devontae Adams. Like, very solid. He's a veteran. People might be worried about his fall off there, and I get that. Same thing with like, we go down to even like Keenan Allen. People might be a little bit worried about him falling off, maybe being in a highly talented offense in terms of the receiving weapons that are there. But still, like, why would you draft Marvin Harrison Jr. trying to hope to get lucky when you can get a solid, very strong, likely outcome that Keenan Allen's going to have another good season? If anything, like, George Pickens is receiver number 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, coming in off of a very good season, heading into his third season. Now we know what to do with third season receivers. That is typically their breakout year, okay? Really like that as a play. You look at another player that's going a little bit higher, don't get me wrong, but still not as high as Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. Chris Olave. Like, if we get this sort of production out of Marvin Harrison Jr. in his rookie season, I think everyone would be happy about that. That would be a top 20, top 25 receiver, and everyone would be happy about that. But, like, that should be the expectation. Draft him to be a top 20 receiver, so don't try to draft him based off of his ceiling. Basically, all the receivers that are going after him, really up until, I would even say, Marquise Brown, I would rather draft. But we're going to see that all the rookie receivers are also going too high. Like, I get it. Harrison Jr. is probably going to be the best rookie receiver. I get that. That's exciting. But let's talk about the other 2 receivers that are rookies that are going too high as well. And so this one kind of just feels cheap. Honestly, saying Malik Neighbors is going to be a terrible draft pick for best balls, it's not that hard for people to see. I know he went number 6 overall. People are excited about that. Again, like, the bust rate for receivers that go that high is extremely small. I'm not saying he's going to be a bust or anything like that. I'm saying he's going to be that for fantasy football purposes. When is the last time that we've seen any sort of New York Giants receiver have any sort of sustained production, especially with Daniel Jones as the quarterback? It just hasn't happened. A little bit of Darius Slayton, a little bit of Wendell Robinson, but Daniel Jones wasn't even the quarterback during that. And they just drafted Jalen Hyatt to be a good receiver for them as well. He's coming into his second year as well. I would argue that given his ADP, where he's going undrafted, Hyatt would almost be a better best ball pick in terms of chasing upside than Malik Neighbors. Look at the receivers that are going by around Malik Neighbors. Mike Evans coming in off of a good season. Jalen Waddle. Now, obviously, we like him as a receiver. I would much rather have DK Metcalf, Devonta Smith, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin. Guys, he is going to be in a better offense, seemingly, with Cliff Kingsbury back. I'd much rather draft him. Jaden Reed, a rookie from last year, people are going to be excited to draft. Calvin Ridley coming in off of a good season. Like, it's just crazy to me that these rookies are going as high as these established players that we can really depend on to give us multiple starts each week and throughout the season. Heck, Deontay Johnson ending up in Carolina is going to be good. Heck, I would argue Chris Godwin would be the range that we could start to feel maybe comfortable about drafting someone like Malik Neighbors, but still, I would say that is too high. Chris Godwin still had 1,000 yards receiving, didn't have as many touchdowns as you would want, only 3 on the season. We did see Baker Mayfield kind of had tunnel vision towards Mike Evans, but Malik Neighbors going that high is just crazy to me. That one seems like the easiest one to avoid. And so the last rookie receiver that I want to highlight is going to be Rome Odunze, where he just got drafted to the Chicago Bears. Again, he got drafted high. I think that's why we are seeing his ADP go as high as it is. So on Underdog, he's currently going 44th overall. I do expect that to be corrected. I expect it to be closer to the 81 that he's going in general. Average ADP about 61. But currently going as receiver 32. And again, to me, that just seems like people are really trying to chase an unlikely ceiling. For him to really produce receiver 32 numbers, to me, Caleb Williams would have to play phenomenal, one. Swift would not get that many touchdowns probably. And then one of DJ Moore or Keenan Allen would probably have to get a little bit banged up. On top of that, they also have a rookie that they drafted last year, Tyler Scott, that they don't mind. And so things would really have to come together for Rome to really outplay a lot of these other receivers that are receiver number ones in their offense or already established. Like for him to outproduce Jayden Reed, a lot of things would have to go right. For him to outproduce McLaurin, a lot of things would have to go right. Marquise Brown, Amari Cooper, heck, Jordan Addison as well. Like the list goes deep here. Like we do not need to be making those mistakes. Draft Keenan Allen, draft DJ Moore, that makes sense. But to try to draft these rookies that are currently going at their peak, that is just vastly crazy to me. I honestly thought that these were like dynasty rankings is what was going on. I honestly thought so. Like these are crazy to me. Those are just all easy passes. And I would argue every single rookie receiver is going too high. There's better picks at every spot for all the rookie receivers. Just don't make that mistake right now. If you want to draft your rookie receivers, honestly, just wait a couple of months until camp news starts to break out. Remember where these guys were going drafted, and then you could probably get them 2-3 rounds later when the ADP is much more correct. Now, from there, I want to talk about two other slightly different situations. I want to talk about teams that are currently being overdrafted, and in comparison to a couple of other spots, it's kind of crazy to me. So I want to call it just the Houston Texans players, their ADPs in general. And this is especially going to be in comparison to a team like the Green Bay Packers. And so just take a peek at this. So you got Nico Collins going around 24, Diggs around 25, Tank Dell around 41, CJ Stroud around 48, Joe Mixon around 57, and then Dalton Schultz 123. When we compare that to the Green Bay Packers, who I would argue these are two of the best offenses in the league. Personally, I'm a Packers fan, so there's a little bit of bias there, but I would give the slight edge to the Green Bay Packers. And with that being said, you guys might think I'm maybe not correct there, but at the same time, the point still stands. The Green Bay Packers are going to be a good offense this year. And so let's just take a peek at the Green Bay Packers ADPs. And this is awesome for best ball draft purposes because you could really stack the Green Bay Packers and have a top offense in the league and have a lot of exposure to them. So this is how much Houston Texans players are getting like hyped up. Josh Jacobs could arguably be the running back number one in fantasy football, best ball drafts. That could end up happening. If he stays healthy, that could easily end up happening. He's going to be in a better offense, probably the best offense that he's ever been in. And in his career, he's set up for success. He is going after Diggs and Nico Collins. To me, that already feels like a mistake right there. Doesn't really have competition as well. I know a lot of people are excited about Marshawn Lloyd. He is a worse version of Josh Jacobs. If anything, A.J. Dillon's going to get more run in certain situations where they want a power back than Marshawn Lloyd because he is a copy of Josh Jacobs, whereas at least A.J. Dillon gives a little bit of something different. And then from there, you got Jayden Reed, who everyone knows Jayden Reed really had a massive year last year. But at the same time, the Green Bay Packers receivers, I get it. They're so deep talented-wise, that's going to be difficult to figure out which one you want to draft. And I would assume that that's why their ADP is lower. But at the same time, that is a huge thing. So like Jayden Reed's going extremely low. Christian Watson, when he's been on the field, has looked like a stud. The biggest issue with him is the fact that he is always banged up. But the ceiling's there. I mean, he could be a top 20. Heck, he could be a top 10 receiver if he stays healthy. He's the receiver for the Green Bay Packers that has the biggest ceiling, but he's definitely the most risk reward. That's why Jayden Reed is going first. Then you got Romeo Doubs, Romeo Doubs is like the equivalent of a shoulder shrug draft pick. Like he is going where he probably should be. He's going to most likely finish better than receiver 54, but at the same time, it's going to fluctuate a lot, and he's probably not going to put up massive numbers. The one player that I like the most ADP-wise is Wicks. Wicks showed the ability to be a receiver number one in this league. Like he's the one player to me as a Packers fan has me the most excited. Like he could make a very big step next year to really become a true receiver number one. He holds all those abilities to be a true receiver number one in this league. And then you look at the tight ends, I get it. Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, tough to figure out which one is going to be the one that goes off personally. I like Tucker Kraft a little bit more than I do Luke Musgrave. And so I get why Dalton Schultz is going higher. And then even like Jordan Love compared to CJ Stroud. Jordan Love's going at pick 86. Stroud's going at 48. Like that just should not be happening. So we can see that the Green Bay Packers are just being massively undervalued right now as a unit. That's going to be one of the best offenses in the league. And I thought in comparison to the Houston Texans, that was a good way to go about showing that. Because you could argue maybe the Houston Texans are being a little bit overdrafted, but at the same time, we can easily see that the Green Bay Packers are currently being underdrafted as a result. And just as an FYI, guys, if you made it this far into this video, the rankings that we're doing, we're actually in reverse, okay? I think the rookie receivers are going vastly too overdrafted. And the other 2 points where I think the Green Bay Packers are going too late, like take advantage of that. That's a great stacking opportunity. And then this next one is more as it sits right now. Like this could change, but as it sits right now, it's kind of mind-numbing that this is currently happening, and I get it. It's the rookie excitement. But to me, one of the players that's being overdrafted right now is Blake Corum. Okay, people are assuming that he's going to be the receiver number 2 or running back number 2 in that offense, and heck, they're hoping that he can actually overtake Kyren Williams. Okay, to me, if you are drafting a handcuff for Kyren Williams, draft their running back number 2 from last year. That's going to be Ronnie Rivers. Ronnie Rivers on film looked just like Kyren Williams. Ronnie Rivers on film last year was a stud. Now, you might not be that familiar with Ronnie Rivers because when he got a chance to be the number 1 RB in that offense is exactly when Kyren Williams got injured. They both got injured at the same time. I'm going to show you a couple of plays from this last preseason, and this will just slightly highlight Ronnie Rivers as a player. Like on that play, he got skinny through the hole, was able to pick up the first down and gain extra yards. Like he's a small running back, similar to Kyren Williams, and was able to make a lot of work here. Here's another play, just an awesome run here. Like the ability to fall forward, get extra yards, and get skinny through that hole, just a great play from him. And let's not forget, guys, in their postseason game, Ronnie Rivers had 3 catches for 35 yards, rushed the ball 3 times. Like he was clearly their running back number 2. He was one of the top graded preseason running backs as well by PFF. I don't really like to put too much stock into that, but it's definitely interesting to note. And we look at his last game of the regular season, 13 carries, 52 yards. He was clearly the running back number 2. We know with Sean McVay that he needs to have trust in his running backs. That's why we saw Darrell Henderson when Ronnie Rivers and Kyren Williams went down. That's why we saw Darrell Henderson be the running back number 2 off the streets. They signed him off the streets to be the running back number 2 because he knew he could trust Henderson over some of the other backs like Royce Freeman and Zach Evans. At this time last year, guys, people were hyping up Zach Evans to be the running back number 1 in that offense. Now, this is not my way of saying Blake Corum is a bad pick at all in drafts at all. But as it sits right now, I would rather have Ronnie Rivers in the last round of my drafts, specifically if I have drafted Kyren Williams. That to me seems like a safer handcuff at this point. And it wouldn't be surprising that come preseason, come training camp, that the news is starting to break that Blake Corum is looking more like to start out as the RB3. And we have seen Kyren Williams get injured for an extended period of time. Ronnie Rivers is the small back. Blake Corum, kind of a smaller back as well. But really, the biggest point of this video was to say that I think the rookie receivers it's pretty easy to see. I don't think anyone's going to doubt that they're just currently going overdrafted. Don't be the one that makes the mistakes and drafts too many rookie receivers. That's just not a good idea to start your season. That's going to be all for this Best Balls video. If you guys enjoyed this coverage, make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. I do appreciate that. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, let's keep cashing.